you know, if we're going to fit properly with the aesthetic here, I should probably do something like this. That's better. Let's get started. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia, and today we're going to be talking about Watchmen Episode 6, This Extraordinary Being, together. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. Wow. Guys, let's talk about this episode here. This Extraordinary Being is one of those special episodes, and every show has one, where they really sort of detour from the plot for a bit, but with very, very good reason, because it's backstory time, and somebody's life needs some light to be shedded on it. In this case, it is Will Reeves, the old man in the wheelchair, who we've known since episode 1. It feels like there's been more than 6 episodes. Like, it feels like there's been a lot of stuff that's happened, and it's only been 6 weeks worth of content, so kudos to them for packing a lot of stuff in. But this was one of those episodes like the episode Ab Aeterno or Across the Sea from Lost. Those kinds of episodes where you need to stop, rewind, and show the truth of the matter from another character's point of view. And by golly, was this ever powerful stuff. Right off the bat here, just gonna put this on the table. This Extraordinary Being is one of the best episodes of television I have seen in like a decade. There you go. It's funny, earlier this week, I went to my local comic shop where I usually go to see if I could pick up a copy of Watchmen and read it so that I could finally have that dual sensibility and you know, be on the same page, no pun intended, as Lindelof here, so I could see this show from the point of view of somebody who holds the book as sacrosanct like he does. Unfortunately, my comic store only had like the giant hardcover version of the book that cost like $140, and I was like, oh Jesus, no thank you. But it's a shame I couldn't read it before this episode, because Hooded Justice does play a part, although a very minute one, in the Watchmen comic. He was the first superhero in this string of canon, and he was the inspiration for the Watchmen in the first place. But he never got any backstory in that comic. He was essentially like a Boba Fett kind of character. He just shows up, he's mentioned a lot, but he shows up once and he doesn't really say much, and then he's gone again. This episode of the show attempts to shed light on what the deal is with Hooded Justice. Who was this person? Where did they come from? We've been seeing clips of Hooded Justice from this weird show that the people in the Watchmen world like to watch. And every time we get these clips of him, it's always a bizarre non sequitur, and then we just cut back to the action. Even more removed than the Ozymandias stuff, which, by the way, doesn't happen in this episode. We don't see Adrian Veidt at all, but that's okay. So with this Extraordinary Being, because Angela Abar downed those nostalgia pills last week, she gets to see firsthand the story of Hooded Justice and how he came to be. And guess what? He is Will Reeves. He is Officer Will Reeves, the young man who had to suffer through the Tulsa Massacre and watch his parents get killed. He moved on, became a police officer, realized the justice system was broken because it was just a police station full of racist cops. He got strung up one night and had a hood placed over his face by the racist cops because he was poking his nose into what they were doing. Something in him snapped, and he's like, if being a cop is not going to work, then doing this is what I'm going to do, because I want to see these people brought to justice. And in a very powerful episode, we see all of this transpire from beginning to middle to bloody climactic end. And my goodness, bravo across the board. This episode was directed by Stephen Williams, who is a Canadian director, so woo, represent. Stephen Williams did a lot of episodes of Lost as well, so he and Damon Lindelof go back. Williams did, I think, like a good 24 episodes of Lost. Like, that guy was all over that show. He was one of their main directors next to, like, Jack Bender. And I don't remember how those particular episodes were directed because it's been a while, but this was so beautifully done. It's done under the illusion that you're just always sort of occupying the same space. Not like a oneer, but something similar to that. It's a more fluid, surreal type of oneer. And it works, especially given the context here where it's supposed to be Angela, you know, taking this pill and walking through these memories. I'm sure there was a heavy dose of CGI needed to make this pull off, but how they managed to interchange William with Angela in such quick intervals was astonishing to me. There was even a moment where I flat out gasped, where William is sitting in a chair and he's putting on his superhero makeup, and it's clearly the actor who plays William sitting in that chair. Then in the same shot, his wife comes over his shoulder with a mirror and says, "How do you think you look?" And in that mirror, it's not William, but it's Angela. It's Regina King reflected in that mirror. And I was just like, holy crap, how does this work? I'm sure there's some kind of green screen thing going on, but my little mind was blown to pieces. Talk about a technical achievement. This is going to win Emmys. I guarantee you this extraordinary being is going to win Emmys for something. Now, of course, the beauty of this going forward is that the whole world is under the impression, because of the makeup, that Hooded Justice was a white man. And because of the persona that he put on, they also were under the impression that he was a straight white man. And it turns out neither of those is the case. Hooded Justice was a black man, and he also happened to be gay. So it's going to be really, really cool to see how that comes to light, how the American public sheds light on that, because now Angela knows the truth. Probably the only other person besides Will who knows the truth. Maybe Lady True. We don't know what her deal is yet, but Angela did wake up in her care, so there's that. Angela is now in a similar position as Rorschach and now as Looking Glass, where she's got this powerful piece of information that could really shake up the status quo. Is she going to tell the public? How, and will they believe her? Considering how big of a problem with fascism and racism the world of Watchmen seems to have, it's even bigger than it is in real life America. I think it would be really fascinating to see what happens to that world when you show them, hey look, your very first superhero, probably your most beloved superhero, was a gay African American man. So I really hope that that comes to light at some point, because I want to see what it does for this universe. But that was this extraordinary being. I mean, it was such a, not a simple episode, but it was such a contained episode that there's really not much else to talk about except the story of Will Reeves and everything he had to go through fighting Moloch the Magnificent. And this was really entrenched in the Minuteman backstory of the Watchmen comic, which I still really need to read. The episode was so grand that even though it encompassed just one small dot on the overall chart, it did it beautifully with all the smoothness and grace of a black and white waltz. And speaking of waltz, the music, top-notch music. If you ever want to get this guy emotional and in the right kind of mood, just play Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, baby, and I am right there with you. But that has been This Extraordinary Being. That has been episode 6 of Watchmen. I have been Andrew Fantasia, and you have been magnificent as always. I will see you here next time, folks. Until then, adios.